Chapter 12. The Art of Weaponry. The chirping of birds and rustling of leaves from outside the house on the cliffside reached Zelda's pointed ears as she prepared for the day ahead of her. She sat at the desk in the loft where she had grown accustomed to doing her morning routine, consisting of brushing and braiding her hair, straightening her Hylian tunic, and cleaning her face. Usually, she would take her time, using the routine to relax and wake up properly. Yet this time she couldn't help but hurry through it, with good reason. Today was the day Link would begin teaching her the basics of weaponry. She could barely contain her excitement, for the smile on her face was as wide as could be while she finished braiding her hair. After weeks of annoyingly simplistic and embarrassing training, all the tree climbing and apple picking, the jogs in the sand before treading in the salty ocean water, and Link's seemingly judgmental observation, Zelda had finally proven she was ready to handle a sword, or anything, for that matter. Suddenly, Zelda's bright smile became a reluctant frown. Those were childish thoughts she had to expel. She was allowing her excitement to blind her, something Link had already shown to be foolish when she had first questioned his training methods. Lifting her hands, she combed her fingers through her long, thick, unbraided hair, ensuring every strand was straight before placing her hands on her thighs and taking a deep breath. Those first training lessons were just as important as these next lessons would be. They just weren't as exciting. Unable to contain it, Zelda's eager smile returned as she pushed herself up from the chair. She hurried down the stairs and to the door, only pausing to look back at the bejeweled scimitar hanging on the back wall of the dining room.
Wish me luck.
Excitedly, she opened the door and stepped out into the open air, allowing the door to close behind her as she took in a breath of its freshness, only for her smile to falter upon hearing a certain, slightly musical tone.
Oh my! Isn't Marin just flowing with enthusiasm?
Her neck immediately snapped to see the balding carpenter and his muscled assistant sitting under the tree next to the cooking pot in front of her house. Those two hadn't been there when she'd exited the house in her sleepwear earlier that same morning. She had hoped they would be gone for the day and maybe even the next month or year following, but here they sat, mimicking the joyful smile she'd had just a moment ago. Trying her best to hide her disappointment at their presence, she awkwardly greeted them.
Good morning, Bolson. And to you as well, Carson. Are you planning to be there all day?
Just as usual. Though, that look of yours has me mighty curious. Why, that's the same look Carson had when I told him he'd be building his first specially designed Bolson Construction Company house. You must be doing something new today. Oh, and I'm excited to cheer you on, hun.
Oh, Bolson. I'm sure there are more fascinating events happening around town besides my morning exercise. I appreciate your support. Truly, I do. But you really don't have to.
Nonsense, Marin.
Bolson flamboyantly raised his hand up.
I've watched over you since day one, and I am determined to see how you grow. It may be the last time I see such commitment before my proper retirement. Now run along and find your partner. I expect to see great things from you today.
Right. Thank you.
Defeated, she left the two carpenters alone and ventured past the house and stable, where she found Link standing in the middle of the field beside the cliff.
Link.
I know.
No, you don't understand.
I do. And I will get him to move. At some point. Come on, don't give me that look. I heard you talking to him from here. There's no way you don't see how challenging this is.
Well, I'm new here. Of course, I wouldn't be able to convince him. I can barely get a word out around him.
Do you think anyone can? Look, like I said, he's a great guy, but he's difficult to convince. I'm doing my best here. Unless you want me to take the Master Sword and go threaten him...
Link, you will do no such thing. I can't believe you'd even suggest something like that.
Then I'm running out of options here. Unless you have an idea on how to get him to stop squatting here?
We could,
She looked back at the tree, where the carpenter was now waving enthusiastically at her. Heaving a deep sigh, she turned her attention back to Link.
Never mind. Why don't we move along and begin today's training session?
That is a great idea. Before we start, though, there's something I need to make sure you understand.
Oh? What might that be?
I am teaching you this mainly for self-defense purposes. Any danger above a red or blue bokoblin and maybe a normal Azolfos, you stay back.
Link, we've talked about this. I simply want to support you in your battles. I don't expect to duel any higher tier monsters.
I'm not really talking about monsters. The big monsters, yeah, I guess they apply, but I'm more so talking about the Yiga. Even if they somehow buy you not being the princess, they may still attack you just for being around me. I need to know you'll let me handle them, and that you'll get as far away as possible.
You really want me to just leave you? Even in that scenario, do you really think there's no way I can help?
Against the Yiga? No, there isn't. There's no amount of training I could give you that would prepare you to fight a Yiga toe-to-toe. It's honestly unreasonable to think you could get away from one, but we're going along with this anyway. So, if a Yiga appears, or a higher-tiered monster, then I'll need to know you'll get out of there. I need you to promise me that.
Reluctantly, Zelda nodded, but Link
No,
shook his
Zelda.
head.
I need an actual promise.
If we encounter a higher tier monster or a member of the Yiga clan, I swear to get to safety. But I refuse to leave everything to you. So I'm going to help where I can with everything else.
Okay, I can work with that. Let's start then. Are you ready?
After receiving a nod from Zelda in confirmation, Link gestured toward the apple tree they had been using during the previous training lessons. Leaning against the tree's trunk were two weapons, one a small sheathed sword, and other a simple bow. Crouching down, Zelda took the bow in hand to inspect it closer, while Link continued.
These are the weapons you'll be practicing with for the next few days. I know I just made you promise to escape if any Yiga arrive, but I already knew you'd want to help in other situations. There's no stopping that, so you'll be learning how to use these two weapons specifically, the sword and the bow.
Truthfully, I expected the bow. The sword, however, is the one I'm surprised to see you're actually willing to instruct me on.
You thought I'd have you go through all that previous training only to deny teaching you how to wield a sword?
Would you be surprised if that's exactly what I expected to hear? I assumed you'd want me out of the middle of a battle at all times, and the most logical weapon to achieve that would be a bow.
Yes, but a bow only works when you're at a distance. If I only armed you with that, you'd be in danger if the monsters charged you. You need proximity defense.
I see.
Placing the bow down, angling it in a way she was confident it wouldn't fall over, she grabbed the sword and carefully unsheathed its blade. The metal was dull and its edges were chipped.
Link? I'm not confident in this sword's ability to be effective. The blade is extremely worn down.
That's a spare traveler's sword I stored in the house when I no longer needed it. It might be old and worn, but don't doubt it too much. The first weapon I used when I woke up was a tree branch. Don't worry though, that sword is for training purposes only. In fact, it's what we're going to start with today. Go ahead and bring it over. You can leave the scabbard there.
Placing the scabbard against the tree beside the bow, Zelda stood and returned to Link's side with the traveler's sword in hand.
Alright, remember those drills you saw me doing this morning?
When Zelda nodded, he continued.
You'll be doing those every morning for the next few days. Form is everything in a fight, so we have to make sure yours is sturdy. Now, hold out the sword in front of you, just like I showed you before with the Master Sword.
Thinking back to the time she'd held the Master Sword, doing her best to ignore the parts where Link had gently touched her, she recreated her previous stance. Surprisingly, the sword didn't feel as heavy as before.
It's a lot easier to hold now, isn't it?
It is.
Even she was surprised by her own progression as she held the blade steady.
That's your muscle growth. It doesn't stop there, though. You still have some strength to build up. Bend your wrist and allow the tip of the blade to lean forward.
Zelda lowered the blade's tip. Her arm began to shake.
It's still a bit challenging to hold it this way.
There are only so many muscles you can prepare beforehand. The others have to be strengthened through practice itself, so your arms are going to be really sore for the next few days.
Wonderful. I won't be holding it out like this the entire time, will I?
Nope. Drills, remember?
He reached back and pulled the Master Sword from its scabbard on his back.
Now, I want you to mimic what I'm about to do, alright?
When Zelda agreed, Link readied himself and gestured to his legs.
Widen your stance like this.
After observing his stance for a moment, Zelda attempted to mirror him.
Good. Space them out a little more. That's it. That allows your hips to rotate freely, giving you more mobility. Now, raise the sword and bring your arm in a little bit. Allow it to bend slightly so you can move the blade around. There we go. Good.
So I should be in this stance every day to practice these drills.
Yep. Once you're in this stance, you'll do a few practice swings.
Stepping forward, he slowly swung his sword, describing his every motion
watch me.
in detail.
You'll go from left to right to left again, before stepping back. Now, do what I just did.
Link stepped back, giving Zelda a comfortable amount of space to swing. Furrowing her brow, Zelda stepped forward and slowly began to swing the sword in the order she had been shown.
Not bad. You don't have to hold the sword so stiffly. Yes, you need a firm grasp, but not a tight one. You need to be able to manipulate your swing. Go again, but put more back into it. Put trust in your swings.
Again, Zelda stepped forward, this time swinging with more confidence. Link sheathed the Master Sword and clapped a few times.
Yeah, that's it.
Zelda's cheeks burned at his praise, but not as much as when she heard Bolson's chants from across the field.
You go, Marin! Oh, you're making me so proud!
I knew this would be embarrassing to do while they were watching.
When Link called for her to perform the same sequence again, she obeyed, swinging with even more confidence than before.
Make sure you're keeping your feet firmly planted on the ground.
Link began to circle Zelda to inspect her stance a little better.
You don't want a monster to be able to push you down. Staying sturdy and on your feet is important. Imagine you're swinging at a monster. Maintain your boundary and focus on not being easily moved. Go again.
Again, Zelda obeyed and swung her chipped blade.
It's a little hard to imagine when I'm swinging at nothing but air.
At this, Link paused in his circling steps. When Zelda finished the current set of drills, he held up a hand.
Stop. Wait for a moment and rest. Make sure to stretch your arms out. Keeping the muscles loose will help with the soreness tomorrow.
With that, he began to walk back to the house, leaving Zelda to awkwardly stretch, very aware of the happy stares she was receiving from the carpenter reclining near the tree. While she was happy to have support, she still would have preferred for only Link to see her shakily swinging her borrowed sword around. Eventually, Link exited their house and made his way back to her, and in his hand he had...
A ladle?
A ladle. You know, the big spoons made for soup.
I know what a ladle is used for. I'm wondering how you plan to use this while training me.
Easy.
Link twirled the wooden ladle between his fingers.
I'm gonna use this to defend myself against you.
Zelda immediately took a step back.
You plan to swing a ladle at me?
If you're afraid of a ladle, I'm not sure how you plan to defend yourself against a real weapon.
It's not necessarily the ladle I'm wary of. It's you and your unique strength. You're strong.
You have nothing to worry about. I don't actually plan to attack you. I told you, I'm defending myself. You're going to attack me.
What? But I'm holding a real sword.
It took one glance from Link for her to realize how little of a danger she actually posed to him.
All right, then what am I supposed to do?
At this, Link stood in a defensive stance with his ladle.
You're going to do your drill again, but this time, you're going to aim at me, and you're going to attack as if I were a monster.
And I know this might be a foolish question, but you're sure this is safe for you?
The answer was obvious, but her fear of hurting him clouded her earlier logical deduction.
Well, if I couldn't block a sword from a day one trainee, I wouldn't have made it very far to the Shrine of Resurrection when I first woke up. I used a stick to defend myself against actual monsters, remember? Now, come on, get into form.
Though she was hesitant, Zelda got into form again, widening her stance, adjusting her feet, and raising the sword. When Link gestured with his ladle for her to strike him, she stepped forward and swung. Yet the knight was able to stop her blade mid-swing with ease.
You're not gonna do any damage to a monster with that kind of swing. There wasn't any power behind it.
Link held the ladle against Zelda's blade.
You're supposed to attack me as if I were a monster.
I'm nervous. What if I cut through the ladle's wood? I don't want to accidentally hurt you.
I won't get hurt. You need to trust me. Besides, you'd have to be pretty strong to cut through a piece of wood like this with a blade that dull. Do it again, and this time strike with confidence.
Link gently nudged her sword away with the ladle, a sign to get back into position. With a frown, Zelda prepared herself again, her pointed ears twitching as Bolson cheered her from afar, encouraging her to do her best. After taking a deep breath, she swung again, only to be blocked like before. But this time the ladle didn't stay stuck against her sword. Instead, the ladle's bowl was now pressed softly against her stomach. If she hadn't seen it move, she wouldn't have even realized it was touching her.
You're still moving too slow, and you're leaving yourself wide open because of it. We are getting your body into the habit of doing these drills to use in the wilderness. You will not hurt me, I promise. So show me that you can handle this. Trust me, and do it again.
With a concerned hum, Zelda stepped away from the ladle.
Before I do, can I ask why I don't have a shield? You have your shield, so I should have one too, right?
We'll get you one a little later on. You'll need a shield when we're traveling, but you need to know how to defend yourself without one first in case it ever breaks or if it's dropped. Now, no more stalling, and take another swing at me. Properly.
With a hum, Zelda got back into her fighting stance and finally gave a proper swing. Again, Link blocked with his ladle, but this time, she felt the force of his block slightly vibrate through her arm.
Yes, that's it. Don't stop. Do the other swings.
Retracting her sword, she swung 2 more times, only to be blocked again, and subsequently tapped on the side by the ladle's bowl.
Do it again.
For the next half hour or so, Link and Zelda continued their sparring session until Link finally held a hand out in pause and lowered his makeshift weapon.
I think you've got that down. Do these drills for the next few days, and force your body to remember the feeling. If you want, I will happily grab the ladle again to help you practice.
I appreciate the offer.
Though her arm was a little sore, a tiny smile appeared. She was making progress. Link began twirling the ladle between his fingers again.
All right, with that done, it's time to teach you what I would prefer you focus on, and that's the bow.
Using the ladle, he pointed toward the tree, a sign for Zelda to exchange the sword she was using with the bow. After sheathing its blade and leaning the sword against the tree like it had been before, she took the bow and returned to Link.
Link, I didn't see any arrows near the tree.
You're not going to use arrows yet. Right now, we're going to work on your muscle strength. Pulling those bowstrings back isn't easy, even for one this small. So, you're going to mimic what I do, okay? First, you're going to turn your body like this.
As he spoke, he adjusted his body, aiming his chest toward Zelda. Mirroring him, Zelda turned and faced her back toward him.
Perfect. Now you're going to turn your head towards where your target is. We're just going to pretend that there's an enemy in front of us. Now, stretch out the arm with your bow and make sure to aim it in the direction your shoulder is pointing.
He raised his arm with the ladle in hand, pretending it was a bow. Doing the same, Zelda held her bow out as well.
Now, you're going to reach for the bowstring, pull it back, but don't release it. Just hold it.
Obeying his instructions, Zelda used her free hand to take hold of the string. With a tug, she pulled the string back, finding it much harder to pull than she'd anticipated.
Pull it back as far as you can get it. Try and get it to the corner of your mouth.
Despite Link's encouragement, Zelda's arms continued to shake as she pulled.
It's really difficult to do so.
After a few moments, Link gestured for her to stop and soothingly guided her in relaxing her arm, allowing the bow to return to its resting form.
Rest, but guide the string back to position. Don't dry fire it. Guide it back slowly. There we go. It's tough, isn't it?
It is. You make it look so effortless.
She shook her arm as if that would rid the soreness from her muscles and fingertips.
Even after all the training I did to prepare, I wasn't even able to draw it all the way.
Hey, that's normal. A bow's not easy to use, despite what it might look like from the outside. Truthfully, doing that is what the rest of our training session is going to be.
Just pulling this bowstring back.
Yep. It'll be dangerous to have you practice shooting without being able to pull the bowstring back properly. So, we'll start our days off with sword drills, then move on to bowstring pulls. Once you can draw that bowstring back to the corner of your mouth with ease, then we'll move on to proper shooting. Okay?
I understand. It looks like I have a very sore few days ahead of me, don't I?
Link gave her a smile, which was all the answer she needed.
Hey, your form is great, though. Perfect, actually. I didn't really need to correct your form that much at all.
Oh, come now, Link. There's no reason to flatter me.
I'm not flattering you, I'm serious. You may have a knack for using the bow, but we won't find out until you can properly pull the string back. With that being said, let's get back to it.
Link, I don't believe I can draw the bow for much longer.
She had pulled with all her might, ignoring how badly her fatigued arm was shaking during the attempt, but the string was only barely pulled to a half draw before her arm gave way.
Only about halfway yet again.
Well, you have been at this for a few hours now.
Link, who had been standing close in order to help her in case she lost her grip while drawing, glanced up at the sun, noting that it was now directly above them.
It's about time for lunch anyway. Well, why don't we call it a day here? I'll cook something to help get your energy back up.
That sounds wonderful, but I don't feel as fatigued as I thought I would, though I doubt that means I won't be as sore. This may be wishful thinking, but there wouldn't happen to be any meals that would spare me that sort of pain, would there?
With what we have in the house in the Sheikah slate? Probably, but it won't help all the time. Soreness is a sign you made real progress, so you need to get used to feeling it. Honestly, if you really want to find a way to deal with the soreness better, the proper way is to just keep stretching and using your arms.
Do you have any specific arm stretches to recommend then? You've shown me many full body ones during our previous training sessions. Maybe it's time for a new set of stretches.
I do, actually. Here, set the bow in the grass and then do what I do.
After Zelda set the bow in the grass, she stood and watched Link stretch out his arms.
First, the easy one. Let's do your wrists. You hold out your arms like this and lift your hands, bending your wrist upward. Your wrist hold a lot of tension when pulling the bow back, so we want it to loosen up afterwards.
With a nod, Zelda stood in front of him and mimicked him. With a hum, she bent her wrists and pointed her fingers towards the sky with a smile. Her form was perfect, and while Link wanted to comment on it, the words in his throat had vanished. Zelda was oddly close. Sure, she was standing in front of him, so it wasn't as though their bodies were going to touch, far from it with their arms outstretched between them. But their palms were dangerously close to coming into contact. If either of them even slightly leaned forward, their hands would press against each other, forcing their palms and even fingertips to meet. And Zelda looked completely unbothered by this, assuming she was aware of it to begin with. Her gaze was strictly on Link's eyes, unwavering and strangely just as calm as her smile. It was a look that made Link's throat go dry.
Am I doing this properly? You've gone awfully quiet. Is my form off?
Yeah, you're doing great. Now, move your hands around. Down, side, and side again before going back up. Really rotate them.
They began rotating their wrists, still standing in front of each other. While the air still felt awkward to Link, Zelda giggled, apparently having a good time. Finally, Link brought his arms down, a sign for Zelda to do the same.
Now, your shoulders and joints are where you're going to feel it most, so we want to focus on them. You'll wrap one arm across your body and use the other to almost pull it back further.
As he explained, he brought his right arm over his chest as he did so.
Try to pull it as far as it can go. Give it a try.
Again, Zelda mimicked him, and just as she did with all the other stretches before, she excelled. Her form was perfect. She pulled against her arm and shoulder, even twisting her waist to get a better tug. It was amazing to see how flexible she actually was, which made it all the more surprising when she asked the following question.
Link, do you mind coming over and assisting me?
Huh?
Managing to just barely collect himself after hearing that, he added,
Why do you feel you need assistance? You've done more difficult stretches than these, and you're doing great right now. I'd say you're even doing better than me.
Again, you flatter me, but this is still my first time doing a stretch like this. If it's anything like the sword training, I won't know how it's supposed to feel until it's done properly. I truly want to make sure I do it right. If stretching is the only option I have to rid myself of future soreness, and I'd like to get the best stretch I can. Will you help me?
I don't know, Zelda. I really think you're doing fine as is.
Hearing his hesitation, Zelda glared at him.
Why are you so reluctant? You know, I remember watching some of your training sessions back in the castle 100 years ago. And every now and then I would see you and the other knights help each other stretch. Now I understand its importance, and I am attempting to do it properly. So it shouldn't be such a big deal to help me, should it?
Link remained silent. It was very hard to challenge her reasoning, especially when she would logic it out in such a simple way. Still, for someone who could find such thorough reasoning to get what she wanted, could she honestly not see why this was unfit for someone like him to do? Finally, Zelda sighed in disappointment.
I suppose if you're truly uncomfortable, then I won't press you to assist me any further.
No, No, that's not it.
How could he possibly refuse her when she used that tone against him?
What would you have me do?
Why are you asking me?
She had instantly returned to her joyful self the moment he agreed. It was a sudden switch Link couldn't help but notice.
How would you and the knights do it?
I'm not sure you want me to help in that way. We would be a bit aggressive toward each other from what I remember.
Finally, he took a deep breath.
Are you sure you want help?
Oh, have you figured out how to go about helping me?
Whether she was teasing him or not, Link truly couldn't tell.
Yes, I'm positive I would like the assistance.
Silently praying that he wasn't about to cross some sort of boundary, he stepped forward and moved to where he was standing right behind Zelda. Their bodies were close, so close that the tips of Zelda's long golden hair were brushing against his belt and tunic. Reaching out from behind her, he silently requested Zelda's hand, and she instantly obliged. Placing his free hand on her shoulder, he began to help her body twist, pulling her arm around her torso. It felt impossible to ignore how close their bodies were.
Let me know when you're at your limit.
I think I can handle a little more.
Her waist twisted a little more, finally pressing her back against his chest.
Right there.
Link's heart began to pound, and he hoped to Hylia herself that Zelda couldn't feel it against her back. He stayed as still as he could, allowing Zelda to stretch until she nodded. Slowly, he guided her back to her original position, allowing her body to relax.
And now the other arm. Yes?
Yeah, the other arm. We have to do it again.
In fact, he had to help her a few more times, for Zelda had insisted she wanted to properly avoid soreness at all costs. Though Link knew this amount of stretching wasn't going to rid her of all her upcoming soreness, and he had a sneaking suspicion she knew this as well, they continued until Zelda finally stepped away.
Thank you, Link. I think I'll be nice and ready for tomorrow's training thanks to this.
Clearing his throat, he brought a hand up to push his bangs back.
I'm glad you think so. Hopefully this meal I cook will help too.
I'm sure it will. Why don't I go prepare the table? I'd like to help if I can.
Are you sure you'll be able to? I know your arms must still be tired.
Maybe, but I'm sure I can manage to carry a plate or two.
Before Link could argue, she began to jog back to the house, only stopping to look back at him with her hands clasped behind her back.
I'll be waiting for you inside. Don't take too long.
Yeah. Wait, I need to go inside and get some ingredients.
Before he could finish, Zelda had turned and continued to jog away before disappearing into the house. But before she had completely turned her back to him, Link could have sworn he had seen a light blush on her cheeks. The knight stood confused in the middle of the field before slowly following after her.
There is no way she didn't recognize just how close we were. I mean, I guess this is the same girl that insisted we sleep in the same bed. Am I sure she wasn't like this before?
Well, well, well. It looks like you two had quite the exercise, didn't you?
Before Link could reach the door, the older man sitting near the tree called out to him. When he glanced over in response, the carpenter smiled.
Oh, it's wonderful to watch love bloom under the autumn sun. Wouldn't you agree, Carson?
It's not, Bolson, I think.
Before Bolson could capitalize on his uncertainty, he continued.
Actually, Bolson, look, I know you like sitting there. I really do, but...
Bolson raised up a hand, demanding silence.
Say no more. There's no way I can't see the sprouts of love growing around you two. You need privacy, don't you?
Regardless of the reason, privacy would be nice. Marin would really appreciate it.
I completely understand. Carson, it seems as though we'll have to find a new spot for the time being.
Wait, what do you mean for the time being?
Well, you can't keep me away from this mountain view forever.
Bolson chuckled as he and his apprentice picked themselves up from the ground.
Trust me, you'll miss me if I'm absent for too long. It's just until your loving sprout becomes a beautiful, vibrant flower. Now toodaloo, and don't keep little Marin waiting for you.
With that, the two co-workers began to walk away.
What? Hold on, wait just a second.
Eagerly, almost uncomfortably so, Bolson turned back around to face Link with a large smile.
Ooh, Do you need some romantic advice, hun? Well, I'd be more than happy to give you some. Halia knows you need it for Marin's sake.
No, I don't. Actually, I was hoping you could help me finish this project I'm building.
2 favors in one day, hmm? How bold of you.
With a grin, he reached down and pulled his trusty hammer from his belt.
It's an assertiveness I like to see. What is it you need finished?
It's sitting behind the house. I had to make sure she wouldn't see it, and it's something that I need to know won't fall apart on its first use.
Over the course of the next few days, Zelda's new training regimen continued, with each morning starting off with sword swinging, followed by dry drawing the small bow. This morning was slightly different, for as the sun rose high above the mountaintops, shining its light upon their cliffside field, Link and Zelda had instead opted to have a little sparring session. In Zelda's eyes, it was less of a spar and more a depressing display of her own inadequacy.
Keep trying to hit me. Come on.
Though he had said that, he sidestepped and blocked Zelda's swing with ease.
I'm trying, but you keep moving.
With an aggressive grunt, she swung her sword upward, aiming right for his head, any fear for his safety sacrificed in order to improve. Despite this, Link effortlessly blocked the attack with his trusty ladle and a relaxed grin on his face, clearly unfazed by her mounting frustration. At this point, he might as well have been dancing around the field, while Zelda repeated her attempts to strike him in vain.
Do you think a Bokoblin or Lizalfos will stay still when you're attacking them?
Again, he simply dodged her next attack. His smile faltered once the blade passed by him.
Hey, watch your form. You're getting sloppy.
Link sidestepped as she passed, lightly tapping her on the back with the ladle's bowl. Zelda yelped in surprise and stumbled, struggling to regain her balance.
Don't let your emotions get the best of you. The moment you lose your form, you might as well consider yourself a Bokoblin's dinner.
The moment Zelda felt stable, she sighed and lowered her sword.
I feel as though I'm not making any progress.
What? Of course you're making progress. Why would you even say that?
But I haven't come close to hitting you even once. It feels like I haven't improved since the day you finally put a sword in my hand.
Zelda, I'm going to be blunt. You were never going to hit me, but you are getting better. You aren't seeing progress because it's me you're sparring with. Trust me when I say you've improved.
Do you believe I'd be able to hold my own against the Bokoblin then?
Zelda's ears perked up in anticipation, but Link's immediate answer made them fall right back down.
No. But the goal wasn't for you to be able to beat them with the sword. You're supposed to be able to get away from them if they get too close, which I think you can do now.
You believe so? You aren't just saying that to raise my spirits, are you?
Laughing, Link waved the ladle around.
I just tapped you in the back with a spoon ladle. I said I'd train you right, and that includes being honest with you. In fact, I think we should put the sword to rest for today so we can start your proper archery training.
Oh, it's time for me to actually shoot an arrow then.
It is. You've been able to pull the bowstring to the corner of your mouth a few times, so now it comes down to refining those muscles. And you do that by actually firing off some arrows. Go and swap out your sword for the bow. We're gonna get started.
Eagerly, Zelda raced to the tree where the wooden bow had been waiting for her, and after snatching up the bow and leaving the sword against the tree in its place, she rushed back to her instructor's side. With a smile, Link reached down and took the Sheikah slate from his hip, and after a few taps, a bundle of arrows formed from a string of blue lights. Separating an arrow from the bundle, he continued.
Okay, your form shouldn't change much, if at all. What will change is your grip on the bowstring, because now you have to keep the arrow knocked and aimed in it while also pulling it back. You have to rely on your finger strength. Go ahead and try to knock this arrow. And make sure it's pointed away from me, please.
With a nod, Zelda took the arrow and with Link's guidance, properly knocked it against the bowstring.
The first shot will be a practice one. Learning to use the bow mostly comes from practice, so even with proper form, your first shot won't be great. But you'll get better and better every time. It's repetitive, but effective. So, I want you to aim at the tree and simply try to hit its trunk, okay?
Do you think I'd miss the tree from this distance? This isn't very far. I'd be ashamed if I missed such a big target.
With that kind of thinking, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. If you even manage to just nick the trunk, that's really good. Aiming is not easy. It's not as simple as just pointing towards the target's general area. A lot goes into it, and you'll see with this first shot. So just give it a try.
All right then, if you say so.
After staring at the tree for a moment, apparently judging its distance from her, she lifted the bow and pulled the bowstring back. Though her arm was still just slightly shaking in effort, she managed to fully draw the bow. This Link had expected. She had been practicing her form for over a week now, so the fact she could pull the bow back properly wasn't a surprise. What did surprise him was the fact the arrow stayed firmly in place. Usually, many beginner archers had trouble figuring out how to grip the arrow and the bowstring at the same time, especially when under the bow's tension when drawn. The arrow could veer out of place, fall, or even fired prematurely. Zelda's form was perfect, excluding her slight struggle to keep the bow at a full draw. Her feet were firmly in place, her body was twisted properly to account for her full draw, her bow was properly raised, and her finger grip on the bowstring and nocked arrow was strong. The arrow stayed securely in place as Zelda aimed before finally releasing it. The snap of the bow echoed and the arrow flew, whizzing through the air for only a second before striking the center of the tree. The arrowhead disappeared, digging into the center of the bark as the shaft vibrated before becoming still. Proudly, she lowered the bow.
See, I told you that wasn't a challenge. I know I'm a beginner, but truly you underestimate the ease of this. Link?
She paused the moment she saw Link's slightly surprised features, his gaze stuck on the arrow she had just fired. Even for him to allow such a small amount of shock to show was unexpected.
You hit the tree.
Is that so surprising? I did tell you I was fairly close to it.
Without answering, Link grabbed and handed her another arrow.
Take this and then back up. Get as far as you can. Go to the cliff edge, but don't fall.
Cautioning me not to fall only makes me more wary of falling.
Regardless, she took the arrow and walked back to the cliff's edge. Ensuring she had got as close to the edge of the cliff as she could get without fear of falling, she looked at Link, who gestured for her to shoot. Just as she did the first time, she got into perfect form, knocked the arrow, and fired it after taking a few moments to aim. Again, the arrow whizzed through the air and struck the tree right in the center, sticking out of the bark right next to the arrow she had fired previously. This time, even Zelda looked surprised by her precision.
While I'm happy to be hitting the tree, I'm not just getting lucky, am I?
As she spoke, Link had stepped toward the tree, inspecting the stuck arrows before turning to stare curiously at Zelda, who squirmed the moment his piercing gaze stayed on her for more than a few seconds.
What is it? Isn't this a good thing? You're making me feel very conflicted right now.
Link remained quiet. Though he appeared stoic, his mind was racing. He had seen this before. In fact, he had experienced this before. While all of his weaponry skills felt natural to him upon first use, there was always one weapon that unequivocally felt best in his hand from the moment he swung it, and that was the sword. Could it be that the bow was... Suddenly, he set the bundle of arrows on the ground.
Wait out here for a second. You can step away from the cliff, but just give me a second.
Before Zelda could respond, Link jogged to the house and disappeared inside. Awkwardly, she stood around waiting for Link to return, happy that Bolson wasn't there to cheer her on, before she heard the click of the door. From the house, Link had reappeared, and in his hand was the large bowl of apples Zelda had finished picking a week ago.
May I ask why you brought out the bowl of apples? You're really making me feel strange. I feel like I should be getting praise for hitting the tree at such a distance as a beginner.
Supposedly ignoring her concerns, Link grabbed the largest apple from the bowl.
I'm going to throw an apple, and you're going to hit it.
Zelda blinked.
Forgive me, I must have heard wrong. Did you say I was going to hit one of these apples?
That's what I said.
With a confident grin, Link tossed the large apple in the air before catching it with the same hand.
Why do you look so disappointed? You were so eager to do this kind of training a week ago.
You just told me a few minutes ago that expecting too much leads to disappointment. Forgive me, but you're not being very consistent.
Okay, I'll clarify it for you. That thing I said about disappointment? Yeah, forget that. Now you're gonna shoot that bow, and you're going to fully expect to hit these apples.
Do you fully expect me to hit these apples?
I do, and I'll tell you why after we do this little exercise. Now go grab the bundles of arrows I put down and get ready to aim, okay?
Whatever you say.
Though Zelda was still skeptical of Link's sudden change in belief, they stepped away from each other, with Link going deeper into the field while Zelda found the arrows in the grass. Grabbing an arrow from the bundle, she knocked it and looked at Link, who was clearly preparing to throw the apple he had chosen from the bowl.
Remember, you can hit it. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be, I suppose.
Drawing the arrow back, she nodded in preparation. With a small grunt, Link threw the apple high in the air. Keeping her eyes focused on its rotating red shape, Zelda aimed the bow upward before releasing the arrow. To her surprise, the arrow struck the fruit, causing it to explode into pieces as the arrow continued to fly over the cliffside and into the wilderness below.
I hit that! I actually hit it! Oh, but the arrow!
Again!
Link shouted, grabbing another apple from the bowl.
Wait, Link, the arrows, they'll be lost!
Arrows are still a cheap commodity. Just keep shooting. Here comes the next one.
Again, Link threw an apple, this time not allowing Zelda a chance to prepare herself. Regardless, she scrambled to grab an arrow, knocked it into the bowstring, and drew the arrow back. Thankfully, Link had thrown the apple much higher in the air, giving her at least a few seconds to properly aim. She released the arrow, and again, the apple exploded as the arrow flew through it and disappeared off the cliff. This time, though, she had noticed the arrow hadn't hit the center of the apple like before.
Come on, let's do it again.
He continued to throw apples into the air, watching as Zelda struck them with arrows each and every time. It didn't matter which direction he threw them in, how high or low, whether they were struck squarely in the center or even just grazed their red skin. She managed to hit every single one right up until the entire bundle of arrows had been used up. Realizing she didn't have any arrows left, Zelda fell to the ground exhausted as Link walked up to her.
You did well.
Placing the bowl under his arm, he took a seat next to her in the grass.
Really well.
Why was I able to do this so easily compared to the sword? Judging by your surprise, it seems as though it usually isn't this straightforward. Again, comparatively.
Well, when you shot your first arrow, I noticed your form was perfect. It reminded me of what people told me regarding my sword. I wondered if maybe you had a similar gift.
You came up with that just from watching me shoot a bow once, because my form was acceptable.
It was beyond acceptable. Your form was perfect, but that wasn't the only reason. You were able to summon a bow when we fought Ganon, so I figured maybe the muscle memory of your ancestors was there. The same way the Master Sword is always the hero's, maybe the bow has always belonged to the girl with the blood of the goddess.
Oh, that's a wonderful theory.
She was continually impressed by what Link could manage to piece together with such little information.
If that's true, then if I have this latent ability with a bow, does this mean you'd trust me to be more hands-on in your battles?
Link didn't immediately answer. He gave a simple hum and looked out into the scenic mountain range Bolson constantly praised during his visits. He only answered after a few seconds had passed by.
Why do you want to be in battle so badly? You were never this eager to fight 100 years ago, at least from what I remember.
What are you talking about? I've always wanted to help and be a part of the fight.
Yeah, but not like this. You wanted to help, but you wanted to help in your own way. Usually you wanted to help with your studies, to learn about our history and about ancient technology, stuff like that. Now, though, you want to be in the battle itself. Where did this obsession with being in the fight come from?
Well, that's a strange question. You said I need to be able to fight in order to come along with you.
No, I keep saying I need you to be able to defend yourself in order to get away from it. You know I don't actually want you in the fight itself, far from it. Zelda, what's really going on?
Zelda hesitated when she met his intense, unwavering eyes. Silently, she brought her knees up to her chin and looked away from him.
What else is there for me to do? There isn't much else I can offer, is there?
What? Zelda, why would you think that?
How could I not think it?
With a deep breath, she looked at the bow she still held.
I want to go with you to solve the riddle of why Hyrule is still infested with monsters. To solve why Ganon's influence is still around even after my seal. But even I understand the risk I'm taking. I have no powers. My skill with the sword is lackluster despite your kind words, and my knowledge about this new era is limited. No matter how you look at it, I'm a hindrance to you.
She gripped the bow's handle tighter.
If I can't find any way to assist you properly, then what else do I have to offer apart from moral support, and at a distance, no less?
Link stared as Zelda remained in her little ball, thinking back to all the conversations he had had with those around him, specifically the Sheikah. They had all warned him of her potential inner fears, and while he'd expected them as well, to actually see her struggling with them was difficult.
What about your studies? I know you love your studies. You would much rather prefer a book to a sword when it comes down to being helpful. I know that about you. And I mean besides needing to know self-defense to prove to me you'll be alright in the wild.
Because what is there to study, Link? You're correct. I would prefer to delve into my studies like before, to learn and find solutions to all of our problems. But what book is there that'll tell me what we need to do? We've searched through every book in the library regarding that hope before the calamity appeared.
Then what about the Sheikah technology?
The technology Ganon found a way to corrupt and used against us.
Finally, she met his eyes with her own pained ones.
The very same technology that failed us the moment we needed it most.
So you're giving up your love of ancient technology?
Of course not. I love studying relics and learning about the ancient Sheikah's advancements. But how would those studies help solve the current mystery? The question we're trying to answer is why the malice and monsters are still around. And it was that very same malice that corrupted the Guardians. Even if we try and restore the machines, who's to say they won't get corrupted again? We need to focus on the corruption itself, and I can't do that when I'm stuck in a lab with hundreds of books. So no, I won't feel useful studying Sheikah technology.
Leaning back, Zelda hugged the bow against her chest.
I can't leave everything to you again. You fight so hard. You make a difference. I can't just watch and feel as though I'm not actually doing something.
You're wrong. You are doing something. Zelda, look. You're not a fighter. You're not going to be able to defeat bokoblin camps or groups of Lizalfos by yourself. You really won't need to help me that much in battle either. Maybe one day, but not for a while. That doesn't make you a burden.
Skeptically, Zelda turned away, but in response, Link reached out and placed a hand on her shoulder, a touch she hadn't expected. With a small jump in surprise, she looked back over to meet the knight's penetrating gaze again.
You have always been the reason we've succeeded. I know you said you didn't want to simply be just moral support, but you're more than that. If you weren't on my mind as much as you were, I would have failed. It was you that brought out strength in me I never knew I had.
You thought of me beyond what was necessary for your mission.
Yeah, I did. More than I'd like to admit. You put so much passion and pride into what you do, whether that be studying or exploring or experimenting. Even learning the basics of fighting, you get so invested, and it inspires me. You being yourself, being Zelda, is worth way more than any monster I bring down.
Link watched as Zelda's cheeks burned, yet this time she was unable to look away.
That's how you truly feel.
I do. Besides, I actually do think your love of ancient technology will help.
Taking his hand off her shoulder, Link reached down and took the Sheikah slate off his belt again. The front brightened with a tap, and after a swipe, the illuminated map appeared. He held it out for Zelda to take. With the slate in Zelda's hands, he pointed toward the 4 orange points pulsing on their individual areas on the map.
These markers appeared after Purah finished her testing on its teleportation limits. They only appeared when I took it. I didn't tell you when it first happened because I wanted you to stay focused on your physical training.
Curious, Zelda zoomed in on each of the points in order to inspect the landscape around them.
Aren't these the divine beasts? But why? Why would they still be signaling for you?
I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the monster still being around? It's kind of weird how they appeared right after Ganon's sealing, don't you think?
It would be quite the coincidence if they were unrelated. Why?
That's for you to figure out.
Zelda looked up, meeting his eyes.
You're the only one who'd be able to figure this out properly.
Oh, don't pity me, Link. You know very well you could figure this out yourself. You managed to subdue and regain control of all the divine beasts without my help.
But I needed others' help in order to do that. I had to be guided through everything. I may know how to use the slate's powers, but understanding how they work? Figuring out why a beast would be signaling me?
Link shrugged before looking back out into the mountain range.
Sorry, but that's your job. You don't need to change, Zelda. You never did. If you want to help, then I just need you to be there. I need Zelda's help, not whoever you're trying to be.
You mean that?
I do. Even if I could figure out the slate and the divine beast stuff by myself, it would take me far longer than you. Save us both sometime, please.
Okay. Okay. I understand.
Once she collected herself, she gave him a warm smile.
Thank you, Link. I'm not sure what I'd do without you.
Probably starve.
That earned him a light push against his shoulder. After giggling again, Zelda turned her attention back to the slate.
I suppose I do have some studying to do then. However, I can't start until we arrive at the Divine Beasts.
You're right. Meaning it's time for us to leave soon.
Are you saying you believe I'm skilled enough with a weapon in order to survive out there? In terms of self-defense, of course.
I don't know.
With a grunt, he picked himself off the ground. Once he was up, he stretched out his back before glancing over his shoulder at the Master Sword on his back before continuing.
But I think it's time to find out.
What does that mean? Are you going to test me?
Maybe. You can worry about it tomorrow. Right now, let's focus on dinner. Will you help me prepare?
He held out a hand, and with a nod in agreement, Zelda allowed him to help her off the ground. The rays of twilight covered the mountains in amber, illuminating the land in a fading evening glow. In the shadows behind the house on the cliffside, Link crouched in the dirt as he inspected the craftsmanship of his completed project.
If there's anyone who knows what they're doing when it comes to construction, it's Bolson, but I can't help but pray this thing won't break.
Carefully, he glided his fingers across the thick fabric the large item sported. After twisting the object in his hand for a time, he gave a nervous hum and propped it against the side of the house, directly beside a second one. With a frown, he sighed.
If I can't trust Bolson's work with the hammer, I can't trust anything. Besides, it's not like she's using this tomorrow. I should be more concerned with that.
And he was more concerned with that. His mind was full of the trial he had planned for Zelda the next day, constantly going back and forth as to whether or not it was a good idea. Was she ready? Did he actually believe her to be ready? He had seen her with a bow, and while she wasn't perfect, and he knew being in a fight would be different than shooting apples, it was clear she was gifted with it. But to do what he currently had planned? Suddenly, he closed his eyes.
Stop. You've made your decision. She'll give me an earful if I go back on it now. So would Purah, and Impa, and maybe even Pai at this point.
Exhaling in frustration, he glanced over his shoulder at the legendary sword resting on his back.
You wouldn't happen to have an earful for me, would you? If there's anyone, or anything, I'd like to hear from right now, it's you. Anything? Am I making the right decision here?
The sword didn't respond. There was no chime, no faint voice, and not even a glow.
I guess not.
In the end, he'd simply have to hope his judgment was correct. With a grunt, he picked himself up from the ground and walked around the house to its front door. Giving the door a light push, he stepped inside, revealing the interior where he found Zelda sitting at the dining room table with the Sheikah slate and a few books in front of her. It was a sight Link couldn't help but smile at as he closed the door behind him, but it faltered when he realized she wasn't focused on any of those. Instead, her gaze was on the weapons displayed on the walls around her. He wondered if she even noticed him walking slowly toward the table.
Still unsure if you've processed their absence yet?
Zelda silently nodded, her gaze remaining firmly on the weapons. Link slightly pursed his lips.
Yeah, I get that.
The two sat in silence for a time, simply staring at the weapons, until Link stepped toward the heavy bow on the wall.
I noticed you're still struggling a bit to keep your bow drawn. It's pretty tough to pull back, huh?
Just a tad. It's a little embarrassing knowing I still struggle with such a small bow compared to Rivali's.
Link chuckled, running his fingers across the old wood of the great eagle bow.
Rivali was a different breed of archer.
With a gentle smile, he looked at Zelda and tilted his head, a gesture for her to join him. Zelda raised an eyebrow in question, but when Link only tilted his head again in response, she curiously pushed her chair back and stood. She made her way around the table and stopped near Link beside Rivali's bow. Upon her arrival, Link took the bow from off the wall and held it out to her.
Give it a try.
What? Link, you know I can't pull this back.
Link simply shrugged.
How do you know if you haven't tried?
Though Zelda still looked as though she wanted to deny his request, she reluctantly took the bow from him. Stepping away from him for a little more space, she got into form and tried to pull the bowstring back. She couldn't even manage to draw it halfway.
It's such a heavy bow.
A friend of mine told me that the Rito have to use really light bows to shoot with. The bows have to be light in order to carry them through the air, otherwise it's dead weight that won't let them get off the ground. Then there's Rivali, who didn't just use a normal bow, but this one. That guy, he just had to show off.
He was a very hard worker.
After a few more moments of effort, she gave up on her draw. Accidentally, her fingertips lost their grip, causing the string to spring back into place. Yet neither were concerned, for they knew dry firing from such a weak pull wouldn't do any harm to such a powerful bow.
I told you I wouldn't be able to draw it back. I'm unsure why I even bothered to humor you.
Honestly, it's just a nice sight to see you holding Rivali's bow. He would have never let you hold it himself.
Not a chance. Even getting close to him was a bit of a struggle. I'm sure he'd disapprove of me holding it at this very moment if he's watching us.
Maybe, but he'll get over it.
Saying that would only make him fume more.
With a hum, Zelda placed the bow back onto the display mount and turned to look at the other weapons around them.
Do you think the others would mind?
Holding their weapons? I'd be surprised if they would. I'm sure you'd be more than welcome to.
I see.
She began to slowly walk along the wall, passing by the boulder breaker.
I doubt I'd be able to hold up something so large.
Her fingers glided across the boulder breaker's thick blade. Next was the elegant trident. She trailed her fingers along its smooth silver metal, bumping against the occasional ornament.
Do you think you'll ever teach me how to use a spear?
I could, but I think you should get a little more comfortable with the sword and bow before moving on to the next thing, though.
Agreed.
Finally, she came to a stop in front of the gold-hilted scimitar. Making her choice, she took the sword by the handle and pulled it off the wall. Though she was confident in her ability to wield such a weapon now, she was still cautious, especially while holding this one. It was as if she thought its blade required a higher level of skill than other swords in order to even hold it.
Feels different from holding your own, doesn't it?
It's as if she's watching me. I wonder if she'd approve of my training. Learning how to use a sword and all.
If anyone would approve, I think it'd be Urbosa. And I know you'd be making her proud.
Thank you, Link. I hope that's true.
You can take it with you, you know. It doesn't need to be here on display. I mean, I used these weapons while I was out there during my adventure. You're more than welcome to use Urbosa's sword as your own. I have no doubt she wouldn't mind.
Zelda hummed in thought at this, considering the option she had, but after a few moments, she placed the sword back on the display mount.
It'd be nice, but I think I'd rather she rests. I think it'd be best for her to remain here, along with the rest of them. Unless you plan to take any.
No, I had the same idea.
The two backed away from the wall, still staring at the weapons until it came time for them to retire for the night, for both knew the next day would be an interesting one.
You're still moving too slow, and you're leaving. She sells seashells by the seashore. 6 shark sacks, 6 sharp shark sacks. Holy shit! Whoa! Oh, whoa! I actually did that on the first try. Holy shit!